Welcome back to Daybreak. It's the newspaper segment. Let's move on to the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. The major story here says 2,583 Nigerians killed and 2,164 abducted in 3 months. That's according to a report. The writers are saying we have reduced casualty figures, according to the NSA. Says there are over 300 bandit warlords in the north, fleeing villagers storms of a government house. Now you'll find that story on pages 4 and 6. Also, there is an infography here saying reported cases of kidnappings and killings from the month of January to March 2024, with zones with the highest number of killings, zones with the highest number of kidnappings, 5 states with the highest number of killings, and the top 4 states with the highest number of kidnappings. If you want the details, of course, you can grab the Daily Trust newspaper. Below the headmaster, we have Ondo APC governorship primary. Aida were coasting to victory. The federal government to get fresh $2.2 billion World Bank loan. That's according to the finance minister. They keep acquiring more loans. Many burned to death in Kogi road accident. A really sad situation there. Below the infography, we have despite increased derivation fund, oil producing states owe about 1.6 trillion naira. We have Niger military confirms about 6 soldiers killing and launches manhunts for, the perpetrators of this act. Ale Biosu may take over as acting CEO of First Bank, and the editor's
I think
detention.
He's been announced already.
Yeah. So the editor's detention, we have Nipan and the Bon CSO's approach ombudsman. Now, these are some of the stories that you'd find on the Daily Trust.
All right, quickly, let's skim through the front page of the Punch newspaper for today. Monday, April 22nd. Federal government proves $500 million local content loans and projects. Equity market suffers 1.6 trillion loss in 1 week. The stock market didn't do well last week, even at the global stage. Army vows revenge after terrorists kill 6 soldiers. Rather disturbing development over the weekend. Loki Aidatiwa emerges as APC candidate as protesters, obviously march against the conduct of the primaries. And MFLA social programs. Banks withhold 530 billion naira CBN funds. Cardoso may order refund. Access Bank, GTB, FCMB, 6 others keep unused funds. SMEs seek fresh loans. NFIU, Nasal to tackle Anko borrowers loan defaulters. CBN rules out interventions. Now, this is highly irregular and suspicious. Why are the banks keeping all these monies? And are they going to bring it back to the government? There you have it. Federal government rolls out 2,700 CNG buses, tricycles by May 18. All right, let's get to the gist of some of these stories that you might find interesting this morning. I'll allow Sumaya to introduce him, but
no.
I have a feeling that, she's not going to do a good job pronouncing the names.
At this point, I don't care. We have in the studio Suleiman Ovagaya, the former deputy president of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for
All right,
having me.
let's head on to, of course, the discussion this morning. I mean, one of the stories we made a discussion about is the security. Let's quickly get your thoughts on that.
You mean the
the number, the data is quite staggering.
Yeah, quite staggering indeed. Nigeria has since become a major killing field. We get reports of killings, of abductions practically every day. And unfortunately also, northern Nigeria is the main operational theater for these crimes, accounting for 90% of the killings and 93% of the abductions. Let's commend the Beacon Security and Intelligence Company for bringing these figures to light. Of course, the government has continued to deny the intensity of the killings and the abductions, but Beacon Security, has done a good job. Not that the government is lying. I won't say the government is lying. Everyone has his own figure, a different figure, and I think what it requires is that whether it is one person or two persons that have been killed or that have been abducted, government simply needs to do more in terms of putting this situation to a permanent stop. That's the way I see it.
And in your understanding, I mean, we were just speaking to an expert on in this particular field. He seems to think that the banditry economy is changing its tactics. That's why the killings are being scaled down. The operations are now into exploiting mineral resources and things like that. But we also know the cost on the Nigerian economy. Food production is getting lowered year on year. The safety and livelihoods of people are being upended. To your understanding, especially with some of the videos making the rounds, especially in Zamfara, which we've come to understand is the epicenter of this banditry activities, the bandits themselves are now the advocates of negotiations. I mean, some of them have advocated for negotiations in the past, but what do you make of it? This changing narrative of negotiating with them for, peace to reign.
There are two segments that have upped the ante in terms of their responsibility towards a safer Nigeria. And these segments are the security agencies themselves and the citizenry. I have the privilege of being the only Nigerian media personality that was invited twice to the meeting of the Global Coalition to Defeat ISIS, 2022 in Morocco and 2023 in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And like I had cause to say, on this program, 60% of the responsibility for intelligence gathering falls on the citizenry. What this means is that the citizenry is often the ante in terms of contribution towards the addition of information. And it also means that the action agencies, which are the security agencies, are also doing more in terms of taking up the pieces of intelligence being passed to them and acting upon them appropriately. So in a nutshell, what all this bespeaks is that the hit is being turned on the enemies of the country, or the enemies of the people, and if unfortunately they keep changing their basis. Once the hit is much, they say if the heat is too much, get out of the kitchen, something like that. There is an
right.
So obviously they keep changing, relocating to different places, but in no time we pray, especially with more intelligence being dished out by the citizenry. And the action agencies also doing what is right. We really are optimistic that pretty soon these things will be put to a kind of stop.
Hopefully. I mean, people keep pushing for negotiation, but then when you hear that this is something that has been inherited from generation to generation, this banditry, then you realize that these people have no cause. It's just about the money and just, looting and stealing from Nigerians and the country in general. A really sad one. We'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. But let's quickly take a look at a fresh loan that the federal government is saying they're going to get, about $2.2 billion World Bank loan. What is your take on that? Do you think Abdullah will get a share from that loan?
The same share I got from the last one. 0%.
I want to believe Sumaya will also get a share of that. Well, to be very honest, from what you've seen, there are reasons to be optimistic that probably the three of us may get a share from that loan. I mean, when the roads are better, they are good, in a way, it's like putting some little money in your pocket. It means spending less on shock absorbers for your vehicle, spending less on even fueling, because when the roads are good, you drive smoothly,
so much time
you consume less fuel. So,
and the road accidents as well.
Exactly, road accidents as well. So our hope is that it's not just about the quantum of the loan, it's about what the government puts the loan to, the bottom line towards. If it does something positive, maybe ensuring that investment is made in the productive sectors of the economy, then it will be worth the while. It will mean the ordinary citizen of Nigeria will also gain somehow from the loan.
Critics say the World Bank, international organizations like the World Bank, the IMF, use these loans to leverage Nigeria. And that's why we end up with subsidy removals. That's why we end up with, some sort of reforms that are not just unpopular, but that are sometimes counterproductive to the economic growth and development of this country. Is that also something that we need to factor in, that, you know, these loans come with conditions, and sometimes we might not like the conditions, or more often than not, we don't like the conditions that they come with?
Honestly, you are completely right. There is every cause for concern. Every loan dished out by the IMF or the World Bank comes with conditionalities. And I think government needs to de-escalate. I mean, this issue of taking loans at the slightest prompting. Government should pay more attention towards recovery of stolen funds, which is in trillions of naira, billions of dollars. By the time you recover those funds and put them to proper use, definitely we don't need 2.2 billion. $2.2 billion is something I believe government can get from one or two individuals that have served governments in the past.
Right.
So government should simply pay more attention towards that and pay less attention or completely no attention at all to taking loans from institutions, these Bretton Woods institutions that will always give conditionalities. The conditionalities that meant tears, blood, and death to our citizens.
Right.
Yeah.
And talking about politics, just before we wrap things up, Lucky Adetiwa, the governor of Ondo State, has come out on top. It was one of those primary elections where, you know, it doesn't tick all the boxes of integrity, you know. But what do you make of what happened in Ondo? It was first declared inconclusive. They had to complete it over the weekend, and now the incumbent, as is, you know, the usual fashion, is the winner.
Unfortunately, that has become the norm rather than the exception in Nigeria. You know, of course, under normal circumstances, an incumbent is always given the first right of refusal. So, Ayedatiwa costing home to victory is expected. And don't forget, he belongs to a bloc that is the most influential in Nigeria, one of the most influential, that is the Governors Forum, and they have been very fully supportive of one of their own. So our hope is that EPC will put its house in order. Otherwise, if they don't bring all their bus forces together, APC may lose on the state.
And just a final brief thought. 22,700 CNG buses, tricycles are set to be rolled out next month, May 18, before the president clocks 1 year in office. This was a promise made since last year, since the removal of fuel subsidy. Are you excited about it?
I'm excited, yeah. It will bring down the cost of transportation, and it will make transportation more effective, especially for the downtrodden members of the society. In other developed societies, it's not just downtrodden members of the society that board buses. Even billionaires, you see billionaires boarding buses to work. You don't necessarily need to own a car, or even if you own one, you don't need to drive it necessarily to your place of business. You can simply board a bus or a train to your place of work. So it gives hope that maybe we'll be getting there sooner than later.
Yeah.
Well, some say, some say this should have been the plan before you remove subsidy, so that by the time you remove subsidy,
I don't think at this point.
This should have been done. You are right. This should have been
at this point, it's not some, it's everyone. You know, you put on plan B before you execute execution. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Suleiman Obagaya, former deputy president of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course. And with that, of course, we've come to the end of Daybreak this Monday morning on Trust TV. I am Sumaya Abubakar. To have a lovely day.
A pleasure as always to have you for joining us on the program today. Do not forget, we'll be back tomorrow live at 8. For now, stick around. Emmanuel Fashem will be joining you shortly at the top of the hour for today's edition of 360 Sports. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Good morning.